thing that turns out. So,
Great.
okay, Trisha from Reynoldsburg, welcome. This is Tim Hilborn from Trekka, and we're doing a project this year with the principals that's part of our Leadership Institute. And our goal is to kind of build a vision for what a personalized learning environment or a next generation learning environment could look like. And at Reynoldsburg, you guys have done some wonderful things. So why don't you tell everyone what your role at Reynoldsburg is and then how Reynoldsburg does develop a personalized learning environment?
Okay, great. I'm glad to be here and glad to share a little bit about Reynoldsburg. My name is Trisha Moore, and I'm the Director of Partnerships and Shared Services here in the district. That means I get to work with all of our schools, and among my roles is reaching out to some of our nonprofit organizations, our business partners, even government agencies that we work with to help provide opportunities for students. And I help to support and maintain those relationships. I also do a little grant writing and, a long list of other duties as assigned. That's sort of the Reynoldsburg way around here, and we like it that way. So I guess I can give you kind of an overview of some of the programs that we have going on in the district, and feel free to interrupt me if you have questions or want to hear more about any one particular thing. I would say about 2008, we first started investigating STEM education. It was new to us, not necessarily new to everybody, but certainly there wasn't a whole lot going on in Central Ohio except for the one example of the Metro Early College High School, which had a STEM focus. And we had some opportunities to bring that into town, and we used that as a way of creating some choices in our districts for students and families, all the way down to elementary school. As we began to develop these programs, we started out with, kind of at the project level with K-8 students, and then we really set out to design a high school experience that would not just focus on the subjects of science, technology, engineering, and math, but really on the way of learning that has been adopted by advocates and practitioners of STEM education. That led us to find some other niches for our students, and we now have at the high school level 4 choices for students in terms of what school to attend. There's no regular high school. There's these 4 academies, and 2 of them are STEM oriented. One of them focuses on engineering and design as a lead focus, and environmental science, and another is more health sciences, human services. So the medical fields are definitely represented there. And then we have a business, education, leadership, and law academy, and an arts-based academy called Encore. So at the high school level, students have a personalized experience just from the get-go by selecting an academy they want to participate in. Then within each of those academies, we're developing pathways and programs that allow students to think about what are their interests right now, and we help to expose them to career opportunities that might be related to those interests. And we start with the ones everybody's heard of, like doctor and nurse, and then introduce them also to the many different career opportunities that are related to those things that maybe kids and their families don't even know about.
Trisha, could you talk a little bit about who guides that choice and how that kind of happens for a student?
Right. So, when we first started, we really relied on going to the middle schools and making presentations. We relied on literature that we were able to provide to families. We'd have meetings that parents were invited to, and they could tour and they could ask questions of the principal and teachers and students. But that wasn't deep enough. And so now what we're really focused on is doing some early exposure and exploration for students when they're in middle school and even prior to that, so that they can begin to think about what their interests are. We're not looking to guide students into a pipeline that they can't get off. We're interested in helping students understand the broad array of opportunities that are available to them, and then help.
Yeah, what does that exposure look like? How do you is it physical or is it video, or what are those exposures like?
All of that. So sometimes it might be a professional or an expert in a field coming into the classroom and working with students on a project that is related to their field, and we can do that even with little kids. First graders at Summit Road Elementary a couple of years ago, when they wanted to select a class pet, they did interviews with people from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. They brought in a vet, and they were looking for information about the cost of care and upkeep of an animal so they could make a decision, but they also were being exposed to these fields of work.
And how much does that cost Reynoldsburg schools?
Usually not anything. You find that there's lots of people in the community who are more than happy to share what they do, and they're excited that students might be interested and have similar interests as they do.
So if your students have personalized choice, how do your teachers grade them?
Well, the content is the content. The delivery is where students have chances to make connections between what we know that they need to learn by the Ohio Learning Standards and what their actual interests and passions are, and that becomes more and more evident as they progress through the system.
So do you have a standardized grade card that's an A, B, C, D, or do you have a personalized grade card?
We do use pretty standard appearing grade cards, particularly at the high school level. We make translations so that for qualifying for sports, the colleges understand how to read the transcripts. We have to play that game, of course.
Sure. And Trisha, the number one question about personalized learning revolves around those students that are your most reluctant learners that don't really want to engage in the learning process. How has this worked out for you at Reynoldsburg with your socioeconomic group?
Well, we think that by leading with a student's choice, that gets us a lot closer to having a student who's engaged in the work of school and what they need to accomplish. But it's really more than just making connections with careers. It's more than just having students choose a program that they want to participate in or a school that they want to attend. The most important work happens between the teacher and the student in the classroom.
And that personal relationship is still a pretty solid thing. Is there any professional development you've provided for your teachers in this realm?
Quite a bit, I'd say. As we've been planning, each of these schools and programs that we've launched, teachers have been part of design teams and have spent a year or more prior to a school launch or a program launch designing what's the school going to look like, what's the culture going to be, what are the things that we're going to emphasize, and beginning to learn how to make ties between the identity of the school and the content students need to learn. We embed a lot of problem-based learning and that sort of professional development in those sessions.
Good. Trisha, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about Reynoldsburg?
We're having a blast when we get to help kids make connections between the things that they like to do and their future, and designing where it is that they're heading, and help lay out a path that will get them there. It's pretty exciting and gratifying work.
Cool. Thank you, Trisha. I'm going to stop the broadcast now, and we can just talk for a few more seconds.
Sure.
Okay.